Good day, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me this evening for this final lecture of this Cricket South Africa Level 2 umpiring course hosted by Western Province Cricket Umpires Association. My name is Abdullah Steenkamp, and as usual, my co-presenter for this evening will be Tom Okarosi. The format of tonight's lecture will be as follows. I will kick off, where I will go through all the slides that we've covered in the previous lectures. It will be like a revision lecture this evening. After I've gone through all the slides, I will then hand over to Tom, who will then take us through some admin for the up and coming exam. A few lectures ago, I think 5 lectures ago, we kicked off with Law 1, which covers the players. And the subsection under Law 1, firstly, we dealt with the nomination and the replacement of players. So when it comes to the nomination of players, each captain to nominate their players in writing to one of the umpires either before the toss or at the toss. After the nomination takes place, can any of those players be replaced? Yes, the law allows for a player to be replaced after the nomination took place, but there is a condition. And what is that condition? For any player to be changed, you need the consent of the opposing captain. So if there is a request to have a player replaced, you need to go to the both umpires, and the captain needs to go to the opposing captain and then ask the opposing captain, do you give permission for that player to be replaced? If the opposing captain say yes, we can then replace that player. If the opposing captain say no, we cannot replace that player. Just an example of this, I had one many years ago where one of the players, the toss took place, obviously the nomination took place, about game started at 10, it was about 9:47, 48. One of the players received a call, his wife went into labor, he had to rush to the hospital. Captain came to the umpires, came to us asking us, can we replace this player because the player needs to go to the birth of his first child. We said we have no issue, but the law tells us we need the consent of the opposing captain. We went to the opposing captain, explained the situation. Opposing captain said no problem. This player can be replaced. So we've now replaced the player. What powers does this player have? The law tells us that this replacement player shall be considered the same as the nominated player. This replacement player can bat, bowl, field, can do anything in this game. So the replacement player has full power in this game, just in terms of what he or she can do or not do. Don't get confused with a substitute. We will deal with that in a later slide. But in terms of replacement player, that player is considered the same as a nominated player, have full power, can bat, bowl, field, do anything that the nominated player could do. A replacement player shall not bat in an innings in which the nominated player that he or she was replacing has completed the innings, and also the replacement player to inherit any unserved penalty time, warnings, or suspensions. The second subsection under Law 1 that we're covering is the captain. Sometimes the captain is not available. Then the law tells us we can have a deputy to act for him or her. So in terms of the nomination of players, if the captain is not available, any person associated with the team can nominate the players. The team manager can nominate the players. The scorer can nominate the players. The coach can nominate the players. But when it comes to after the nomination took place And for example, at the toss, can we have the coach at the toss? No, it needs to be one of the other nominated players to do the toss if the captain is not available. Law 2 covers the umpires, and there's only one subsection under umpires, and this is before the game starts, we need to consult with the captains. We, the umpires, need to consult with the captains. According to the law, what do we chat to the captains before the toss? We need to discuss which balls are we going to use for this particular match, the hours of play and the times and duration of intervals. When are we starting? When are we ending? How long will our lunch be? How long will our tea interval be? When will we take drinks? How long will our drinks interval be? Also, which clock are we going to use? Are we going to use the stadium clock? Are we going to use um, the umpire's wristwatch? That needs to be decided before the toss. Also, what needs to be discussed before the toss is the boundary of field of play, allowances for the boundary, and if there's any obstacle within the field of play, please discuss it before the toss, like the pick on the right-hand side. This is the Pietermaritzburg Oval in South Africa, in KZN. This tree is close to the boundary. The custom at this particular ground is if the ball hits the tree, boundary 4. If they hit any part of the tree, whether it's the bottom of the tree, even the top branch of the tree, the custom is boundary 4. This needs to be discussed before the game starts. Exactly what are we going to do if the ball should hit the tree. Tree is an example. It can be rugby poles also, or soccer poles inside the field of play. Please discuss it before the game, exactly how we're going to deal with it. The use of covers also needs to be discussed before the toss, and if there's any special conditions affecting this game, needs to be discussed before the toss. When it comes to the bat, only one subsection that we're covering, and that subsection is when does the ball make contact with the bat? When does the law see the ball actually touching the bat or being struck by the bat? Contact between the ball and the hole of the bat from top to bottom, including the handle and the blade, so the whole of the bat. If the ball makes contact with the hand holding the bat, any part of the glove worn on the batter's hand holding the bat, and any additional materials that's permitted. So this is seen by the law as the ball striking or touching the bat. I want to emphasize when it comes to the batter's hand holding the bat or any part of the glove worn on the batter's hand holding the bat, the hand or hands needs to be holding the bat. If you look at this picture, this is Marcus Stoinis. Ball went down the leg side. If you look the left and the right hand pick, if you look in the middle, you see ultra edge, so there is a clear spike. So there is no doubt that the ball touched the glove. But if you look closely at the two picks, you can see that Marcus's right hand is not holding the bat and the ball makes contact with the right hand. Now, according to the law, the ball needs to make contact with the glove worn on the batter's hand holding the bat. So because Marcus's right hand, which the ball touched, is not holding the bat, this is seen as the ball not touching the glove. So this should have been given not out on field because the man is not holding the bat when the ball touched it. When it comes to the wickets, only one subsection, and it covers dispensing with the bells. Are we allowed to remove the bells? Yes, the law allows us to dispense with the bells, and it's usually in strong winds or high winds. So the law allows, if due to high winds the bells keeps on falling off, the law allows for the bells to be removed. And if you do decide to remove the bales due to high winds, you then need to remove the bales from both ends. Even though many times the only one side will blow off, even though it's only one side blowing off, if you do decide to remove the bales or to dispense with the bales, you need to remove the bales from both ends. And then later, as soon as the wind dies down, please put the bales back on. So now the umpires have now decided to remove the bales or dispense with the bales due to high winds. So now they took off the bales, they've now put it in their pocket. Hopefully the wind will then die down a bit later on and for them to put it back. But now there's no bales on both ends. So in terms of putting the wicket down, how do you now put the wicket down? Let's listen to a video. This is a level 1 course I did a year or two ago, where I explain after removing the bales, how do we now put the wicket down. Bells all around about 1 o'clock because it kept on, the bells kept on blowing off. And I'm getting old now, and I said, no, let's leave the bells. We're just wasting too much time continuously cleaning up the bells. So now we decided to remove the bells. And usually when you decide to remove the bells, there's only one reason. The wind keeps on blowing off. And when you do decide to remove the bells from the stumps, you need to remove it from both ends. You cannot have a game where you say, I'm only removing the bells from this end because this is where it keeps on falling off. Unfortunately not. The law is quite clear on this. If you do decide to remove the bells because the wind blows it off, you need to remove it from both ends. So now we've decided to remove the bells from both ends. Now the law changes. All the law now tells us once you decide to remove the bells is the ball now just needs to touch any of the stumps. So now no need to hit it out the ground, throw it out the ground, do these. People can do it if they want to, but not necessary. The law tells us all that now needs to happen is for the ball to touch the stumps. Now, from an umpiring point of view, you now need to be on high alert because remember the ball just needs to touch the stumps and it can be difficult. I had arguments already in my umpiring career, took off the bells, and the fielding side would say, yeah, but umpire, it kissed the stumps. Batters, obviously the batter's going to say, no, it didn't touch the stumps. What you need to do is you need to go and consult your colleague. Ask your colleague, did he hit the stump? Yes or no? If you're not sure, what do you do as umpires? Benefit goes to the batter. You must be 100% sure that either of you saw the ball at least touching the stumps. If not, give the benefit to the batter. Under Law 13, the innings, here we're covering the toss. And in terms of the toss, who needs to be present? Where does the toss take place? And what is the timing of the toss? So when it comes to the toss, captains needs to be present, both captains. And at least one umpire, preferably both. But if only one umpire is available, no issue, the law allows for it. So both captains needs to be there, at least one umpire needs to be there. Where does the toss take place? Anywhere on the field. We know customary, it happens right next to the match pitch, but according to the law, anywhere on the field of play. And in terms of the timing of the toss, there's a window period. There's a 15-minute window period for the toss to take place. If our game starts at 10 o'clock, what is that 15-minute window period? anywhere between 9:30 and 9:45. So can the toss take place at 9:35? Yes, it can. At 9:40? Yes, it can. 9:44? Yes. 15-minute window period if your game starts at uh, 10 o'clock. If your game starts at 9:45, again, there's still a 15-minute window period. And what is that 15-minute window period? 9:15 till 9:30. If your game starts at 11 o'clock, again, 15-minute window period, and the window period will be from 10:30 till 10:45 if we have 11 o'clock start. And as soon as the toss is completed, captain winning the toss needs to notify the opposing captain of the decision whether to bat or to field, and once notified, the decision cannot be changed. Law 17, two subsections that we're covering is when do the overs start? An over starts when the bowler starts his or her run up, or if there's no run up, when the bowler starts the bowling action when that back foot lands. So the over technically starts as soon as the bowler gives that first step in the run up. That is when the over starts. So what happens if an umpire miscount? We try not to miscount. It's a very important part of umpiring. You need to make sure that you do get your balls counting spot on. But yeah, occasionally we do miscount. So what happens? The law guides us and tell us if the umpire miscounts, what the number of balls or valid balls that the umpire has counted shall stand. If the umpires gave a 5-ball over, that 5-ball over shall stand. The umpires allowed a 7-ball over or 8-ball over. That 8-ball over or 7-ball over to stand. Further on, if having miscounted, the umpires allows an over to continue after 6 valid balls, and then you now allow the 7th ball to be bowled, and now the 7th ball is a no ball. What now? The law tells us, yes, you've allowed a 7th ball. It now came to your attention that you've actually allowed the 7th ball, but the 7th ball was a no ball. The law guides us by telling us, yes, even though the 7th ball was a no ball, and any runs scored from that 7th delivery, wickets taken, all they will all count. But in the example that I'm using, let's say the 7th ball is a no ball. It now comes to your attention that you've allowed this ball was actually the 7th ball of the over. The law allows us to actually, as soon as the ball is dead, to call over, even though it was a no ball, but it was brought to your attention that that was actually the 7th delivery. The law tells us you can actually call over, and you then need to move into position for the next over to start from the other end. When it comes to dead ball, two subsections that we're covering. When does the ball automatically become dead? And there are times where we need to call and signal dead ball. So there are 8 instances where the ball automatically becomes dead. And in 1 or 2 of them, good umpiring technique to actually call and signal dead ball, because a lot of the players don't know the law. So if you do see it happen, call and signal dead ball loudly to inform the players that the ball is now dead. And as soon as you've uttered those words, ball is dead. Anything that happens after that is irrelevant. So what are the 8 instances where the ball automatically becomes dead? When it finally settled in the hands of the keeper or the bowler, the ball automatically becomes dead. As soon as a boundary is scored, whether it's 4 or 6, ball automatically becomes dead. Batters dismissed, ball automatically dead. Whether played or not, it becomes trapped between the bat and person of the batter. or between items of usual clothing or equipment, ball automatically dead. Whether played or not, it lodges in the clothing or equipment of a batter or the clothing of an umpire. Ball automatically becomes dead. For point 4 and 5, good umpiring technique, call and signal dead ball to inform the players that the ball is now dead. We'll see in the next slide, there's actually a video, and you'll see it's international players, and many of them didn't know the law. So, good umpiring technique, when it happens, call and signal dead ball to inform everyone that the ball is now dead, even though the law tells us the ball is automatically dead. Ball also automatically dead. Under Law 24.4, a player that returned without permission, and under Law 28, illegal fielding. Ball hits the helmet that was placed behind the keeper. As soon as the ball touched the helmet that was placed behind the keeper, ball automatically dead. And as soon as the match is done or concluded, ball automatically dead. Let's look at a video, and you'll see that the ball lodges in the equipment of the batter, and as soon as that ball lodged, it became automatically dead. But good umpiring technique to call loudly dead ball, just to inform the players, because you'll see in this video, players did not know this law or do not know this law.
What a comedian. So yes, it got stuck in the pad. They're asking, and he's trying to catch it. And then he drops the ball.
As you can see, international players don't know the laws, many of them.
What a comedian.
There are instances where the umpire needs to call and signal dead ball to inform the players that the ball is now dead, and as soon as the umpires utter these words of dead ball, anything that happens after that is irrelevant. Ball is now dead. What are those instances? If the umpire decides to intervene in case of unfair play, call and signal dead ball. If a serious injury to a player or umpire occurs, and the emphasis on serious injury, call and signal dead ball. If the umpire decide to consult his or her colleague before going over to your colleague, call and signal dead ball. If one or both bails falls from the striker's wicket, and the emphasis on striker's wicket, before the striker has had opportunity playing at the ball, you need to call and signal dead ball. Call and signal dead ball if the striker is not ready for the delivery, and if the ball is delivered, striker makes no attempt to play at the ball, and the umpire needs to be satisfied that there was a good reason for the batter not being ready, ball not to count as one for the over. There are times where the striker might be distracted by a noise, a movement, someone walking in front of the side screen, or in any other way. Call and signal dead ball. If there's an instance of a deliberate attempt to distract the striker, or there was a deliberate distraction, deception, or obstruction of the batter, call and signal dead ball. If the bowler accidentally drops the ball before delivery, call and signal dead ball. Before the bowler enters his or her delivery stride, the bowler decides to throw the ball towards the striker's end, not trying to run out the non-striker. This is now the bowler. As the bowler is running in to deliver, throwing the ball towards striker's end, you need to call and signal dead ball. Ball does not leave the bowler's hand for any reason other than trying to run out the non-strikers. If the bowler holds onto the ball and bowler does not deliver the ball, you need to call and signal dead ball. If the umpire is satisfied that the ball, while still in play, cannot be recovered, call and signal dead ball. If the umpires consider that either side will be disadvantaged by either a person, animal, or object that came in within the field of play, umpires needs to call and signal dead ball. However, if both umpires consider that the ball would have reached the boundary, Regardless of the intervention, they can allow the boundary to stand. Like batter hits the ball, striker hits the ball to the cover boundary. As the ball is racing towards the boundary, dog runs onto the field and intercepts the ball. If the umpires feel that that ball would have gone for four, the law allows the umpire to give the boundary four. The law wants the striker to at all times have some part of his or her person, whether grounded or raised, within the pitch. The law does not want the striker to go off the pitch. At any given time, there should be a part of the striker, whether grounded or raised, within the pitch. If the striker do leave the pitch, you, the umpire, needs to intervene by calling and signaling dead ball. And lastly, call and signal dead ball if you are required to do so under any of the laws that's not included above. Under no ball, only one subsection that we're covering, and that subsection is how to be dismissed of a no ball. There's only 3 ways to be dismissed of a no ball. There are in total 9 modes of dismissals, but as soon as the umpire calls no ball, there's only 3 ways to be dismissed. And what are those 3 ways? Firstly, hit the ball twice. Secondly, obstructing the field. And lastly, run out. So I remember this. HOR, I call it OR, and it stands for hit the ball twice, obstructing the field, and run out. Under Law 24, we're only covering one subsection, and that is a substitute. And what is the definition of a substitute? And when is umpire when umpire to allow a substitute, and what powers the substitute have. Earlier we spoke about the replacement player, when we can allow a replacement player, and what is the powers of the replacement player. We'll now see, firstly, when the umpires to allow a substitute fielder, and secondly, what is the powers of a substitute fielder. So the umpires to allow a substitute fielder, if the umpires are happy that a fielder has been injured or ill, and this injury or illness happened during this particular game. And if there's a wholly acceptable reason, umpires also to allow a substitute fielder. What is the powers of a substitute fielder? Law tells us that if we do allow a substitute because a player became injured or ill, this substitute player cannot bowl, the substitute player cannot bat, the substitute player cannot act as captain. However, the law allows for the substitute to be a wicket keeper, but the umpires needs to give consent. Umpires needs to say, yes, we are happy that the substitute can keep. If there's no consent for the umpire, substitute then not allowed to keep. When it comes to the wicket keeper, let's first listen to a video. There's only one subsection that we're covering here.
India and Australia, which happened on 21st of November 2018. Australian wicketkeeper Alex Carey ends up touching the stumps before the ball reaches him, and after referring to the third umpire, it was declared a no ball. So what do you guys think about it? It's a no ball because he touched the stumps? Well, let's find out. Before going any further, let us take a look at the restrictions a wicketkeeper has. He has restrictions both on his movement and position. According to cricket law, after the ball comes into play, well, to know when the ball comes into play, watch the above video. And before the ball reaches the striker, it is unfair if the wicketkeeper makes any significant movement. In this case, umpire will call it dead ball and further action will be invalid. However, he is allowed to make certain movements. Let's take a look at them. He is allowed to move a few steps forward for a slower delivery, but doing so should not bring the stumps in his reach. He is allowed to move laterally like this wicketkeeper in response to the direction in which the ball has been delivered. He is allowed to move in response to the stroke that the striker is playing, like this wicketkeeper does, but he has to make sure that he follows the law 27.3.1. Let's see what exactly that law is. The wicketkeeper shall remain wholly behind the wicket. He can't even be parallel to the stumps from the moment the ball comes into play till either of the following things happens. Ball touches the bat or body of the striker. So he can come ahead of the stumps right after the ball touches the bat or batsman's body, just like this keeper does. Next case, he can come ahead after the ball passes the stumps, and he can come ahead if the striker starts running without playing the shot. It will be called a no ball in case of keeper violating this law. In the case of Alex Carey, ball had touched the bat when he broke the wicket. Hence, this is not a violation of law. But he was parallel to the stumps before the ball made contact with the bat. Hence, it was called a no ball. Another instance which needs a mention here is Andy Flower's incident. He is clearly ahead of the stumps even before the ball reached the batsman. It should have been called a no ball, but the umpire didn't notice it at all, and unfortunately it costed Ridley Jacobs his wicket. Still have any doubts with this? Do let me know in the comment section. If you like the video, hit the like button, share with all your friends. To never miss another update from our channel, don't forget to subscribe and click on the notification button.
So in terms of the position of the keeper, the law wants the keeper to stay behind the wicket from the moment the ball comes into play. As soon as that bowler gives his or her first step, the ball becomes alive now. From that moment, that first step is given, that keeper needs to stay behind the wicket. Unless it touches the bat or person of the striker, then the law allows the keeper to come in front of the wicket. If the ball passes the wicket at the striker's end, then the keeper can come in front of the wicket. And lastly, if the striker attempts a run, the keeper can come in front of the wicket. So to summarize, keeper needs to stay behind the stumps at all times from the moment the bowler takes those first step. There are 3 exceptions, and these 3 bullet points are those exceptions. If the keeper contravenes this law, strikers in, umpire needs to call and signal no ball as soon as applicable after the delivery of the ball. When it comes to the fielder, the first subsection under Law 28 is the protective helmets that belongs to the fielding side. Where do they need to be placed? Only one place on the field, behind the wicketkeeper, in line with both setter stumps. So the law allows for when the fielding side is they're not using the helmet, to place it behind the keeper in line with both sets of stumps. So what happens if while the ball is still in play, the ball strikes the helmet that was placed behind the keeper? As soon as the ball touches the helmet, that ball automatically becomes dead. Immediately, as soon as it touches, ball is dead. Anything that happens after that is irrelevant. 5 penalty runs to the batting side. Runs completed by the batters before the ball striking the helmet to be scored, including the run in progress if the batters had crossed when the ball touched the helmet. Let's look at a video in the next slide, and we'll apply how the law works when it comes to ball hitting the helmet that was placed behind the keeper.
I think that's hit the helmet. I think this will be automatic 5, will it? just check. I think it is 5. That's the last thing you want. There you go, hitting right on the top of the lid. Yep. Do we have to stop for a concussion protocol?
So as soon as the ball touched the helmet that was placed behind the keeper, that ball now automatically becomes dead. Anything that happens after that is irrelevant. That's why in this scenario, yes, the ball went over the boundary, but that boundary for not to count. Why? Because the ball became dead as soon as the ball touched the helmet. Anything that happens after that is irrelevant. And in terms of the runs, did the batters complete any runs? No, they didn't. Did they cross while busy with the second run, while busy with the first run? No, they didn't. So no runs to be scored. So in this scenario, only 5 penalty runs to be given to the batting side. You can find other scenarios where, let's say, the ball gets hit to the third man boundary, and the players now starts to run. So as the third man picks up the ball, throw is a bit wayward, and then from third man, now the ball gets thrown against the helmet. That is also 5 penalty runs. Ball becomes dead as soon as the ball hit the helmet. We'll give 5 penalty runs to the batting side. But now you also need to look at, because the ball went to the third man boundary, were there any runs completed? Those runs to count. When the ball touched the helmet, the run that the batters were busy with, did they cross or not? If they crossed, the run to count. If they didn't cross, a run not to count. So just the point I'm trying to make is, in the video, it's an example of ball going through the keeper's legs, going against the helmet, 5 penalty runs, ball automatically dead. It can also go to in another scenario, ball can be hit to the third man or fine leg boundary or cover boundary, wherever, and while the ball is in play, throw is a bit wayward, ball then goes against the helmet. Again, 5 penalty runs, but now you need to, as umpires, you need to check any runs completed, those to count. Did they cross when the ball hit the helmet in the run that they were busy with? That run then also to count. Next subsection under Law 28 that we're covering is movement by the fielders. Let's see what the law allows a fielder can do and not do in terms of movement. So any movement by any fielder after the ball comes into play and before reaching the striker is unfair except for the following. So any movement is unfair. The fielder is only allowed to do the following after the ball comes into play and before the ball reaches the striker. The fielder is allowed to minor adjustment to the fielder's stance or position in relation to the striker's wicket. Movement by any fielder towards the striker or the striker's wicket, that is also allowed. That's why we often hear walk in with the bowler. You are allowed to walk towards the striker. But there is a but. You should not be significantly altering or changing your position as a fielder. You cannot, as the bowler runs in, be on the mid-off boundary. And so as the bowler is running in, and when the ball gets to the striker, suddenly you're now a mid-off. That is now significantly changing your position. You move from a mid-off on the boundary to now a mid-off inside the circle. That is not allowed. That is significantly changing your position. So the law allows for movement towards the striker, but not if the fielder changes the position. You are allowed to move towards. So the law is clear, only towards. That's why sideways movements, they're not allowed. And also moving backwards, also not allowed. And lastly, movement by any fielder in response to the stroke that the striker is playing, or that the striker's actions suggest he or she is going to play, also allowed. So only these three things is allowed in terms of movement by the fielder. But if there is any unfair movement by any fielder, the umpire needs to do the following: call and signal dead ball. There's further punishment. If there was a wide or no ball, that to count. 5 penalty runs to the batting side for unfair movement by the fielder. You need to inform the captain of the fielding side for the reason. Inform the batters and, when possible, the captain of the batting side. And according to law, you need to report this to the governing body of cricket for this particular match. Let's just look at an example of movement by the slip fielder that the law allows for, because the batter was intending to play the lap sweep, and as soon as the batter intended to play the lap sweep, the fielder then started to move, and this is legal according to the law. And let's have a look at this video.
Look at that. That is called anticipation. That is an incredible piece of catching by Van Jaarsveld.
Well, I'm quite honest to say I've never seen this happen. Well done, Martin van Jaarsveld. It was a preempted sweep shot.
The wicket is broken. When is the wicket broken? Let's look at an animation video, and then we're going to summarize what's in the video. Let's first look at the video.
The wicket is down. The wicket is put down when one or both bails are removed from the top of the stumps, or a stump is struck out of the ground. The situation can be brought about in the following ways: by the ball, by the batsman's bat, by the batsman's bat if he or she lets go of it, or even by some flying part of a bat if it breaks, by the batsman's clothing or body, or some part of his or her equipment falling off, by a fielder with his or her hand or arm, providing the same hand is holding the ball. If the bail merely bounces and comes to rest back on the stumps, then that is not out. The wicket is down at the precise moment that both ends of either bail are removed from the stumps. Right about now. Should you have further questions on this tricky subject, such as how to put the wicket down when one or both bails have already been removed, head over to Law 29 in MCC's The Laws of Cricket.
To summarize what was covered in the video in terms of breaking the wicket fairly. So the wicket is broken fairly if a bail is completely removed from the top of the stump, or a stump is struck out the ground by the ball, by the striker's bat if held, or any part of the bat that he or she is holding, by the striker's bat not in hand, or any part of the bat that became detached, by the striker's person or any part of his or her clothing or equipment, by a fielder with his or her hand or arm, providing that the ball is held in the hand or hand so used. If a fielder strikes or pull a stump out of the ground. There are instances when, if one bail is off, let's say the wind only blows one bail off, how do we put the wicket down? The law tells us if one bail is off, to put the wicket down, all you need to do is remove the other bail. And you've then successfully or legally put the wicket down by just removing the other bail. So that is one bail off. How do we put the wicket down if both bails are off? If the wind blows both bails and they're on the ground. Now, and don't get confused between under Law 8 where we covered when the umpires decided to dispense with the bails due to high winds. So in that scenario, the umpires made a decision because due to high winds, they took off the bails and they put it in their pockets. And how to put the wicket then down is the ball then only needs to touch one of the stumps. In this scenario, let's say as the bowler is running in, delivers the ball, and a gust of wind blows the bells and they're on the ground. How do you now put the wicket down? There are four ways to put the wicket down in this scenario. Firstly, this is one of the ways in the pick. Stump, remove, hand with ball in hand. You need to do it together, everything together, not like the following pick. This is the incorrect way of putting the wicket down. I've done this many times in my club cricket playing days many years ago. This is not the correct way of putting the wicket down. You cannot have ball in one hand and stump in the other hand. This is the correct way. They need to be done together. Ball in hand, stump in one hand, and then together removing it out of the groove. So this is one way of putting the wicket down. If the wind, while the ball was still in play, let's say the wind blew off the bails. Another way is the law allows for a fielder to put one or both bails back onto the stumps. That's another way how you can put the wicket down. Third way to put the wicket down, you take the ball and you throw one of the stumps out of the ground. But it needs to be out the groove. And fourth way to put the wicket down, you can take the ball in hand and hit one of the stumps out of the ground. But it needs to be uprooted. Then you've also put the wicket down. Next law is appeals. The only subsection that we're covering under appeals is the timing of the appeals. What is that window period? How long is your appeal still valid? So the appeal is still valid and it must be made before the bowler begins his or her run-up. If there's no run-up, bowling action, and before time has been called. So there's a window period for your time for timings of your appeals, and that window period closes when the bowler begins his or her run up for the next delivery. Only then the window period closes. So up until that bowler gives his or her first step to bowl the next delivery, window period is still open. Fielding side can still appeal, and you can still consider the appeal. Window period only closes when the bowler gives that first step to bowl the next delivery, and also time should not have been called. Also, even the call of over doesn't invalidate an appeal, as long as it's made prior to the start of the next over. As soon as the bowler bowling the next over take that first step, that window period closes. But if you called over and the bowler didn't start that first, took that first step to bowl the next over, that window period is still open in terms of timing of the appeal. And obviously, time should not have been called. The moment you call time, you close the window period. So you can see in terms of the validation period for an appeal, it is that window period is long. It's open for long, and only closes when the bowler takes his or her step to bowl the next delivery, and time should not have been called. We can now get to the dismissal laws. We start off with the court. Let's look at a video.
Fair catch. A catch shall be considered fair if the ball is held in a fielder's hand, hugged to the body of the catcher, or accidentally lodges in his or her clothing, helmet, or protective equipment. But of course, this being cricket, it isn't always that simple. If a fielder deliberately uses an item of clothing to try to catch the ball, it is not out, and 5 penalty runs are awarded to the batting side. However, the ball can be caught after it has deflected off the other batsman, an umpire, another fielder, including off a helmet being worn, or even if it lodges in a fielder's helmet. Perhaps the main criterion for a catch to be considered fair is that the ball must not touch the ground before being caught. Here, for example, the ball does not touch the ground even though the hand holding it does so in effecting the catch. This is a fair catch. And then there is the question of catches near the boundary. This is such an interesting subject that we've given it a film all of its own. To catch up on everything to do with catching, simply refer to Law 33 in the Blue Book.
The subsection under Law 33 that we're covering is making a catch, when it starts and when it ends. So the law guides us by telling us it starts from the time when the ball first comes into contact with a fielder's person, and it ends when the fielder obtains complete control over both the ball and his or her own movement. So both conditions needs to be met. Needs to control the ball and your movement. We can have a look at 2 videos and we'll apply the theory to those videos. And in the first one, you'll see that yes, the fielder had control over the ball, but both conditions needs to be met, both the ball and the movement. So we'll apply the theory to the video and in the second video as well. But there we have Maria Erasmus explaining exactly how the law works and why it was given or not. But let's look at this video.
And it's Jay Hope this time, a little wide of the fielder, and almost spilled it on the second attempt.
Well, Jackson Smith left the ball on the ground. That could be a big moment for Callum Stowe. Let's have a look. So he spills it first time, comes off the thigh, dives forwards, gets it in 2 hands. Yeah, he's got it. He's got it. He's still got his finger. Oh my goodness me. Now that's a problem. That's a problem.
Not in control over both the ball and his movement. That's why not out. Let's look at a incident that happened in the Ashes series a year or 2 ago. And after listening to the video, Maria Erasmus was the TV umpire, and Maria will then explain why he gave the decision of not out.
I want your opinion on that catch now, Ricky. You've had ages to digest it as you've meandered across the outfield. What do you reckon?
And the last 10 minutes in the commentary box, we've been talking about it. I'm worried about the inconsistencies of all of this. I mean, I can sit back and argue that Steve Smith wasn't in control of his movements either in the first innings. His was deemed to have his fingers underneath the ball. Mitchell Starc took the catch, 3 or 4 feet from the ground. So at some stage his fingers were underneath the ball. I'm sure we'll get more. We'll talk about it forever. We'll get more clarification, I'm sure, overnight by the time we've spoken to the umpires. But, I mean, if you look at that, I know they're talking about the movement not being completed, but that's been held longer than any slips catch, any keeper's catch that's ever been taken in the history of the game. But they catch it and throw it up straight away, and sometimes you are still moving when you've done that. So I could argue that he's controlled that ball as long, if not longer, than most catches that are actually taken in the game.
I suppose, and I'd say to Straussy, I haven't been able to ask Maria Erasmus specifically about this, but if he's arguing that he's not in control of his movements, it's because he's using his the ball to steady himself a wee bit.
Yeah, I think that's what he'll come back to. But
the inconsistency.
Was Steve Smith doing the same? I mean, that's what I don't. And I think what you'll see with a lot of these is you'll see different umpires interpret that in a different way, I reckon.
Right. We'll have a look at the Steve Smith catch then, because you can go through what you mean about having his fingers on the ball and then his movements after.
Yeah, well, I spoke to you this night. He clearly catches that a long way above the ground. And what he said then, if you look at the way his fingers were underneath the ball, on the bottom side of the ball, The ball then, from what angles that I saw, the ball actually touched the ground, although his fingers were underneath it. As he came back up, the ball came out of his hand. So is he actually in control of the ball? I think Mitchell Starc was in control of the ball longer than what Steve Smith was with his.
The question I have, I mean, it's sloppy from Mitchell Starc, isn't it? I think the catch was good, but you don't let the ball just go along the ground like that. He could have easily sort of rolled his body over and made sure the ball did not touch the ground. So it was a 100%. Sloppy bit of fielding in the end.
Yeah, cannot argue with that at all.
Let's listen to Maria Erasmus on why the decision was given not out.
Exactly what you saw in the third umpire's chair, and just interpret the law for us as you, with your thinking process around the catch.
Yeah, the law is specific and it says that the fielder has to have control of his body and movement. In that particular case, he was still moving and he put the ball on the ground. Now, if you take that example and say he was sliding towards the boundary, if he slid into the boundary, we would have deemed it either 4 or 6, depending on if the ball touched the ground before. So there's no difference in our interpretation for the catch.
So the key thing is that he only then has control of his body when the movement has stopped, and by that stage the ball has clearly touched the ground.
Yes. It was actually quite simple because he actually put the ball on the ground quite early, and then eventually when he came to stop, it was too late.
I want your...
Next mode of dismissal is hit wicket. So we're going to cover when the batter is out hit wicket and when the batter is not out hit wicket. So firstly, let's cover when the batter is out hit wicket. So there's a window period for hit wicket to take place. It starts after the bowler has entered the delivery stride. So you can only be given out hit wicket after the bowler has entered the delivery stride. So what happens if you put your wicket down before the bowler enters the delivery stride? We'll see in the next slide. But the window period for hit wicket opens after the bowlers enter the delivery stride. And then the batter now puts the wicket down. Any course of any action taken by the striker in preparing to receive or receiving a delivery. Back and across, lifting that bat, any action in preparing to receive the delivery, and the striker put the wicket down after the bowlers enter the delivery stride, out hit wicket. Second way to be out hit wicket is in setting off for the first run, and the most important word in the sentence, immediately after playing at the ball. It needs to be immediate. So you need to hit the ball in the covers and you need to set off immediately. And if you set off immediately, out hit wicket. We'll see in the video later on where Sachin Tendulkar set off and immediately. And because he set off immediately, that's why he was given out hit wicket. But it needs to be immediate. If there's any delay and then put the wicket down in setting off for that first run, not out. Point 3, similarly, point 2, just in point 3, no attempt is made to play at the ball, and then let's say the ball goes through the keeper's legs, now you're set off for the first run. But again, it needs to be immediate. If setting off, not playing at the ball, if it's not immediate, it cannot be given out hit wicket. So if it is immediate, that's a way how you can be given out hit wicket. And out hit wicket, lawfully making a second, third, fourth strike if you want to guard. If the striker wants to guard his wicket, out hit wicket. So these are the 4 instances how you can be dismissed or how you can be out hit wicket. I mentioned earlier that the window period for hit wicket opens as soon as the bowler's back foot lands, as soon as the bowlers enter the delivery stride. If it happens before the bowler enters the delivery stride and the striker puts the wicket down, you need to call and signal dead ball. So when is the striker not out hit wicket? As soon as the striker's completed any action in receiving the delivery, not out hit wicket. As the window period closes, as soon as the striker's completed any action in receiving the delivery, that's when the window period closes. Not out hit wicket. It occurs when the striker is in the act of running other than the first run. If it happens on the third, the fourth, the second, the fifth, and then the striker puts the wicket down, not out hit wicket. Also not out hit wicket if the striker is trying to avoid being run out or stumped. Not out hit wicket if the striker is trying to avoid a throw at any time. Not out hit wicket if the bowler, after entering the delivery stride, does not deliver the ball. And lastly, not out hit wicket if the delivery is a no ball. Let's look at a video of Sachin Tendulkar given out hit wicket, setting off for that first run, and you'll see because it was immediate, that's why it was given out hit wicket.
Here he goes, he pushes back and he's gone.
So he pushed at the ball, set off immediately. That's why Tendulkar was given out hit wicket.
The rule's been changed. Once you break the stumps,
because this setting
no
off was immediate.
That's out.
That's why this is out hit wicket. Leg before wicket. Let's look at an animation video and then we'll summarize what's in the video.
Leg before wicket. LBW. LBW is a little like the offside rule in football. Many people claim to know it, but how many people really do? Our handy checklist means that whether you find yourself umpiring an international test match or the kids on the beach, your reputation for fairness will remain intact. There are 5 basic criteria to consider. The batsman is out, leg before wicket, if 1. The bowler bowls a ball that isn't a no ball, unlike this poor fellow. 2. The ball, if it is not intercepted on the full, pitches in line between wicket and wicket or on the offside of the batsman's wicket. It cannot be out if the ball pitches outside the line of the leg stump. 3. The ball hits the batsman either full pitch or after pitching and before he hits it with his bat. 4. This is where it gets a bit more complicated. If the batsman was making a genuine attempt to play the ball, the point of impact must be between wicket and wicket for LBW to be an option. However, if the batsman has made no genuine attempt to play the ball, the contact must either be between wicket and wicket or outside the line of the off stump. 5. This is the crucial part. But for the interception by the batsman, the ball would have gone on to hit the stumps and dislodge the bails. Any questions? Just refer to Law 36 in the Blue Book.
To summarize the points that you need to consider when there's an LBW appeal: ball not to be a no ball, not intercepted on the full, it needs to pitch in line between wicket and wicket or on the offside, should not have touched the bat first. Striker intercepts the ball with any part of his or her person, doesn't necessarily have to be the pad, can be any part of the person. The point of impact, even if it's above the level of the bails, needs to be between wicket and wicket. There's one but, and that but is unless the striker's made no genuine attempt to play the ball with his or her bat, then the impact can be between wicket or on the offside of the wicket. And then last point to consider when there's an LBW appeal, in your opinion, do you think the ball would have gone on to hit the wicket? Obstructing the field. Let's look at a video.
Obstructing the field. A batsman is out obstructing the field if he or she willfully attempts to obstruct or distract the fielding side by word or action. Like this, for example. Thank you, Tommy. In particular, it is considered to be obstruction if, while the ball is in play and after the striker has played the ball, either batsman willfully strikes the ball with a hand not holding the bat or any other part of his or her person, or with the bat. The exception to this is when the batsman is attempting to defend his or her wicket. The batsman may do this with the bat or any part of his or her person, except with a hand not holding the bat. If the batsman uses such a hand, he or she will be out obstructing the field. The handled the ball law no longer exists, with such incidents now covered by obstructing the field instead. The obstruction has to be willful. Accidental obstruction, or obstruction caused by trying to avoid injury, does not count, and the decision on that is down to the umpire. It's worth noting that if a catch is obstructed, it is the striker who is out, even if it was the non-striker who caused the obstruction. Mind you, it's not always an easy decision. Here, the batsman deliberately crosses out of the legal running area in order to attempt to obstruct a throw. There is no other reason why the batsman should be running across the pitch. What looked an accident was, in fact, an illegal incident. To avoid any possible confusion, read Law 37 in black and white in the Blue Book.
Obstructing a ball from being caught. So if it's not a no ball, the striker is out obstructing the field if willful obstruction or distraction by either batter prevents the striker being out caught. So the striker is out, even if the non-striker, if it's not a no ball, and even if the non-striker prevented or caused the willful obstruction or distraction, it will be the striker that needs to be given out if it's not a no ball. The above shall apply even if an obstruction is caused by the striker in lawfully guarding his or her wicket. If the striker prevents a catch from being taken by the keeper, striker to be given out obstructing the field if it's not a no ball. But the law goes on by telling us, but if an obstruction or distraction takes place from a no ball, then the batter causing the obstruction or distraction will be given out obstructing the field. However, striker is not out if the obstruction of a catch occurs while defending his or her wicket from a no ball with a lawful second strike. Run scored when either batters dismiss obstructing the field. Let's start with point number 2 first. If the obstruction or distraction prevents the striker from being out caught, no runs to be scored. Yes, penalties are ordered to either side to stand, but in terms of runs, no runs to be scored if the obstruction prevents a catch. Point 1, if it doesn't, the obstruction or distraction doesn't prevent a catch, any runs completed by the batters to be scored together with any 1-run penalty for no ball or wide or any other 5 penalty runs. The penultimate law that I'm covering this evening before handing over to Tom is a run out. 2 subsections. Firstly, how to be out run out. So either batter is out run out if either batter is not within their ground and the wicket is fairly put down by a fielder, even though no ball has been called, and whether or not a run has been attempted or not. That is how you can be dismissed run out. The second subsection we're covering under the run out law is how a batter is not run out. Firstly, batter is not run out if batter was within his or her ground, and then after making their ground, they only left the ground to avoid injury, and then the wicket was put down. Now the law gives the batter immunity from being out run out because batter initially made the ground, they only left it to avoid injury. That's the first instance where batter is not run out. Second instance where batter is not run out, ball was not touched by a fielder. The law wants any of the 11 fielder to touch the ball after the bowler has entered the delivery stride, and then the wicket is put down. The ball is not touched by any of the fielder and it goes against the wicket, even if the striker is, or the batter is outside the ground, not out, run out, because not touched by a fielder. Also, batter is not run out if a no ball is bowled. And I'm going to use the example to illustrate what the law is trying to tell us in point 2. So visualize a spinner bowling, front foot no ball, bowler and umpire calls it. So keeper standing up for the spinner, the striker double steps, striker misses the ball, keeper takes the ball and takes off the bails. So because of the no ball, we know a striker cannot be stumped off a no ball. There's only 3 ways to be dismissed off a no ball. Stumping is not one of those. So because of the no ball, striker in my scenario cannot be stumped. Also, the law gives the striker immunity from being a run out as long as the striker was not attempting a run and the wicket was fairly put down by the keeper without the intervention of another fielder. Those are the 3 ways where a batter is not out run out. Last law that I'm covering before I'm handing over to you, Tom, is Law 41, which covers unfair play. Only 2 subsections under Law 41 that I'm covering is the match ball and changing its conditions. What we're going to focus on is what a fielder is allowed to do with the ball and the only things that the fielder is allowed to do with the ball. Firstly, the fielder is allowed to polish the ball. No issue. And the fielder can polish the ball on his or her clothing. The law goes on further by telling us no artificial substance to be used. No sweets, no sunscreen. Only natural substance to be used is sweat. That's the only natural substance to be used. Nothing else. Saliva cannot be used according to the laws. No, so yes, you're allowed to polish the ball on your clothing, and you're allowed to use sweat and only sweat. Field is also allowed to remove mud under the supervision of the umpire, and the fielder is allowed to dry a wet ball on a piece of cloth, and this piece of cloth has been approved by the umpires. The second subsection under Law 41 that I'm covering, and after this I'm handing over to Tom, is the deliberate distraction, deception, or obstruction of a batter after the ball was delivered. So law tells us the ball has now been delivered, and there was a willful attempt by any fielder, and this willful attempt can be by word or action, and this deliberate attempt was to distract, obstruct, or deceive either batter after the strikers receive the ball. Let's look at the punishment. If any of the fielders, any of the 11 fielders, deliberately attempted by word or action to either distract, obstruct, or deceive either batter, call and signal dead ball, neither batter to be dismissed from this delivery, 5 penalty runs to the batting side, ball not to count as 1 for the over, any runs completed before the offence to be scored, including penalty runs. And the law goes on further. Additionally, the run in progress, whether they crossed or not, also to be scored. Further punishment, batters at the wicket to decide who faced the next delivery. And you then need to inform everyone and also to report this to the governing body of cricket for that particular match. You can see it's a fairly stiff punishment if there was a deliberate attempt to distract, deceive, or obstruct either of the batters. Tom, thank you so much. That's all the revision slides that I'm covering this evening. Handing back over to you.
Thank you very much, Abdullah, and good evening to you and good day to all the candidates. 1 hour 15 worth of revision slides. I hope you all paid thorough attention. I shall now be taking you through the next steps of this course and of course the click-by-click demonstration of how to register and also log into the exam, as well as the minimum system requirements test that everybody will have to go through before the exam. So I'm going to go through our timetable from where we are today. Top of this particular screen is our revision lecture, Tuesday, 22 April. Now, a lot of you have already paid the exam fee of 350 rands for those candidates in South Africa. And of course, the fee is $35 for those candidates outside of South Africa. We do know that the fee of 350 rands is not equivalent to $35. Cricket South Africa subsidizes the exams for South Africans. That's why the $35 is more expensive than the fee for the local candidates. When can you pay the exam fee? Anytime from now up until Wednesday, the 30th of April at 1800 hours South African time. So the same time that the lecture starts, that is the cutoff for payments for the exam. Next week, Wednesday, 30th of April. So you have about 8 days to go until the exam payment cutoff date. You also, in that time, need to tell us when you are going to write the exam. So when you send your proof of payment to training@wpcua.co.za, please mention if you are going to be writing on Saturday, the 3rd of May or Monday, the 5th of May. A lot of you that have already paid, thank you very much for making payment, have not made mention of which exam date you are choosing. So please reply to that email that you sent your proof of payment and on there mention which date you are choosing. For those of you who have not yet paid, make sure when you send your proof of payment to training@wpcua.co.za, you mention which day you will be writing on. I noticed a question in the chat box, I think it was from Shiva, asking when is the latest date that we can tell you that we are writing on Saturday or Monday and we can change our decision. Umpires are allowed to change their decision. The latest date is Wednesday, 30th of April at 6 p.m. South African time. So if you have already mentioned to me what date you'll be writing, but circumstances have changed in your plans, then you may, up until Wednesday, the 30th of April at 6 p.m., email training@wpcua.co.za to change your exam date. All online exam candidates will receive a registration email 2 days before their exam date. So if you're writing on Saturday, the 3rd of May, you'll receive a registration email on Thursday, the 1st of May. If you're writing on Monday, the 5th of May, you'll receive a registration email on Saturday, the 3rd of May. And I will be showing in the demonstration what that registration email looks like. Now remember, for level 2, you only get one attempt to pass the exam. It's a written or typed exam. And you may not write on Saturday and think that if you don't pass, you can attempt again on Monday. Why? Because we will only start marking the exams after the candidates have written on Monday night. So we'll probably only start marking all the exams on the morning of Tuesday, the 6th of May. So you have to choose one of the dates. You cannot write on both. Very importantly, I've mentioned this throughout the course, members of umpires associations in South Africa must write at their home associations. So members of Western Province Cricket Umpires Association will be writing at Newlands Cricket Ground here in Cape Town, either on Saturday the 3rd of May or on Monday the 5th of May. For those of you who are writing Western Province Cricket Umpires Association umpires at Newlands, please, it is free for you to write as members of WPCUA, but you need to make mention on email to training@wpcua.co.za which date you will be writing. So for those of you who haven't yet mentioned, please send an email mentioning which day you will be writing. And all Western Province Cricket Umpires Association members need to write at Newlands. They do not have the option of writing online. All members of any umpires association in South Africa need to contact their head of training or their training coordinator and find out when their association is hosting a level 2 exam sitting. It will not necessarily be on Saturday the 3rd of May or Monday the 5th of May. Each association operates on its own and makes their own decision in terms of when they will have courses and then when they will have exams. So please don't say that Tom said you must have a written exam at your association on Saturday the 3rd of May or Monday the 5th of May. Those dates are specifically for Western Province Cricket Umpires Association, who will be writing at Newlands, as well as all our international or private candidates who will be writing online. We do have one or two candidates, private candidates in Cape Town who wish, if they wish to write physically at Newlands, they're welcome to do so. Otherwise, they will join the rest of our private candidates writing online. And as mentioned, I will be going through a click-by-click demonstration shortly to show how the online exam works. For everybody, you'll be writing the same exam. It is worth 100 marks. It is a 2-hour-long paper, and the pass mark is 80%. Results will be available around the 19th of May, so about 2 weeks after the Monday, 5th of May sitting. Certificates will be distributed by email on Monday, the 26th of May, a week later. Those candidates who pass level 2 will automatically be added to our level 3 course mailing list. Level 3 will start currently planned for Monday, the 23rd of June. And you will all receive a course material and logistics email a week before that. If you do not achieve 80%, so if you do not pass the level 2 exam, candidates achieving between 65 and 79% will be allowed a free rewrite. The rewrite will only be when we next have our level 2 course, which will be in October and November 2025, and the exams will be in November 2025. So that means if you do not pass level 2 with us now, you will not be able to join the level 3 course in June, July. You will only be allowed to rewrite in November 2025. I hope that clears up any questions you all have of the logistics. And so now let's move on to the actual exam, what that looks like. So firstly, let's have a look at what the registration email looks like from Exam Online, which is our service provider for online level 2 and level 3 exams. Very different to the process and the website used for level 1 Cricket South Africa umpiring exams. So if you are writing on Saturday, the 3rd of May, you will receive this email on Thursday, the 1st of May. This is what it looks like. Subject is registration information, and it comes from assessors@examonline.in, but the name that is associated with the email is Umpires Association, and it says, Dear Mr. X or Dear Mrs. Y, you have been registered for the CSA Level 2 exam. Your details are as follows. And what you need to do is you need to copy this URL into a Google Chrome browser, and you need to copy your user ID that you've been given, and you need to also copy and paste the password that you've been given. For purposes of this demonstration, I've been given demonstration access with user ID test101@examonline.in, and the password I've also copied and pasted. Okay, so this is what your landing screen will look like. Please make sure that you use Chrome. Microsoft Chrome is the preferred browser for this software, and if you use other web browsers, you might fail the minimum system requirements test. Make sure you've got a good internet connection. Make sure you are in a room on your own that's quiet, and that there is no material that can help you in the exam. It is a closed book exam, so you cannot check your law book, you cannot check your presentations that we've sent you, you cannot use any material that will assist you. You do not need a calculator for this exam, so those will not be allowed either. You are not allowed to have earphones in your ears or a headset on your head. It is a closed book exam, no assistance from anyone or any material allowed in the room. So let's have a look at the process to sign in. And it is pretty straightforward. The website and the user interface is very intuitive and user-friendly. Follow the steps and you won't go wrong. So if your exam starts at 9 a.m. South African time on Saturday, the 3rd of May, you will be able to log in as early as 8:30 a.m. So half an hour before the start of play, you can have your toss, and this is what your toss looks like. So you have logged in, and you will have a level 2 exam option waiting for you to start. Obviously, you can see this one says CSA Level 3 Umpiring Demo Exam. We can't obviously show you what the Level 2 exam looks like. So we are going to demonstrate using a level 3 mock exam. And it tells you your times in your time zone as to from what time you may log in and from what time until what time you may write the exam. Okay, so now I click on start and it takes me through to some terms and conditions that you need to agree to. Privacy policy just mentions that we won't use your information unnecessarily or share it with anybody else. Click on proceed, and then you need to accept the terms and conditions of this exam. Then we click on accept and continue. Then we get to the system compatibility check. And the reason that your registration email is sent to you up to 2 days before your exam is that you can do this system compatibility check anytime between receiving the system compatibility check email, anytime between receiving the registration email and up until the start of the exam, you can do this system compatibility check. So if you do the system compatibility check on Thursday and you fail the system compatibility check, then you know that either your device or your internet connection or both are not good enough for the requirements of this exam. That will give you an opportunity to go and try a different device or try a different internet connection or both. Also, do remember to use Google Chrome. If you're using another browser, it could lead to you failing the system compatibility check. So I'm going to do the system compatibility check now to show you how it works. And I'm going to click on begin process. It is checking my internet connectivity first, and it tells me that my internet connectivity is correct. Then it checks my microphone and it says my microphone is correct. Then it is checking my webcam, and the way it checks my webcam is by taking a photograph of me. And this photograph is important because it's going to be used for your identification authentication. Okay, so your face needs to be in the middle of that green circle. And if it's not in the middle of that circle, it will be red. Okay, so your face needs to be there somewhere in the middle, and your eyes need to be facing your screen. And this looks like the optimal camera distance. And what you will find during the exam is that it's going to compare the picture that it takes of you before the exam to what it sees of the candidate while the exam happens. And if it sees something completely different, it will say wrong face detected. So you need to make sure that you're not looking in a sideways motion when you take this picture, because then it will be expecting you to be looking sideways the entire time while you are writing your exam. Okay, so look straight and make sure your head is in the middle of that oval graphic, and then you click my picture. Okay, if you're happy with your picture, then you click on save and next. And next, we will be capturing our ID. So I haven't got a picture of my ID here, but just for demonstrative purposes, I'm going to use the law book, and I'm going to put the law book in the screen, and I'm going to make sure that the words on the law book are legible. Why? Because Abdullah is my proctor, and he's going to check that my ID reads correctly in terms of the name. So if he cannot read what's written on your ID, he will not allow you into the exam room. So make sure you're holding it up straight. Make sure that the words and your photo are visible in the ID. Capture my ID. I'm happy with that. I can read. It says the laws of cricket. And if Abdullah is able to read my ID and also recognizes the picture, looks like the picture of the person taken the picture before, then he will approve my entry into the exam room. Please just take time to make sure that your ID is visible, fills most of the screen, and also the writing of your name on the ID document or the driver's license is legible. For youngsters who are maybe below 18 and don't have a driver's license and don't even have a South African ID, if you have got any form of identification, maybe from school, like a school ID card, then you can use that. The problem with birth certificates is that they don't have pictures of a child on them. So rather try and find a form of legal identification provided by government or an academic institution. Save and next. And now it's going to check that I am able to share my screen. So I click on share the entire screen. So it defaults to entire screen. Don't click on Chrome tab. Don't click on the window. You want to share your entire screen. And it shows what your entire screen currently looks like. Click on that screen and then you can click on share. Once it confirms that your system is set for screen sharing, then you can go and click on hide because you don't want to click on stop sharing by mistake anywhere during the exam. So click on hide, and then it tells me your device is all set for the online proctored exam. Let's initiate the authorization process. And when we click on continue, this is where it's going to match me to my proctor or my invigilator, who on the day will be myself or Abdullah. And right now it's asking Abdullah to authorize me in the exam. Abdullah, have I been assigned to you as my proctor?
Yes, Tom, I can see you in my queue.
Great.
Give me a second. I'm going to...
Before you authorize me, Abdullah, you need to ask me to show you my room that I do not have any material that will help me in the exam.
yes, Tom. Yeah, just give me a second. Let me just get to you. I am going to ask you those questions. Okay, so Tom, so I'm first looking at your snapshot and then at your ID snapshot. Yes, I can see it to you. I can see your face on the blue book, Tom. And now I need you to show me your room, Tom.
Please
I've got you. Yeah, I've got you full screen. I now need to see if I can. There's no one else in the room with you. I'm checking for any communication devices. Yeah.
Okay. I need to put my phone away, Abdullah.
Yeah. Yes.
Apologies.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom.
This needs to be completely out of the room, not just in my pocket.
Yeah. The AI will pick up any phones in the vicinity. So yes, you do not want AI to pick up any communication devices.
Please excuse the mess in my room, but I am the only person in the room.
Okay, so thank you, Tom. So I've identified you, I've identified your name and your ID, I've checked your room. I am now satisfied. I am now going to authorize you so that you can start your exam.
Thanks, Abdullah. Once Abdullah has authorized me, I get that message. You have been authorized. Best of luck with your exam. And now I can click on begin examination. Please note that if you have been authorized before the exam time should start. So for example, Saturday the 3rd of May, we should only start the exam at 9 a.m. South African time. If Abdullah or I authorize you at 8:55, even when you click on begin examination, your exam won't start. It will keep you hanging in a waiting room, so to speak. You are only able to start at 9 a.m. or afterwards if you are only authorized afterwards. So this is what will come up once you're authorized and you click on begin examination. There are exam instructions. It is mainly just telling you not to cheat, and it tells you specifically that you are not allowed to use mobile phones, calculators, or any online or offline reference material. There is provision for rough work on the platform itself. If you want to sort of think out loud in terms of writing down your ideas, you can do that. You cannot have a pen and a paper and write. You will only be typing in this exam. So please read through all of the instructions, and this will be part of your 30 minutes before the start of the exam, so you don't need to rush through it. Once you have read and understood the instructions of the exam, click on that checkbox and then begin examination. And I will take you through how the exam works. So level 3 has 27 questions. Remember, this is a mock exam. It's not the real level 3 exam. Level 2 has got 20 questions, and you need to answer them in the click box. And so I'm just going to say answer for question 1 is here. And you will find that the mark allocation for each question is at the top of the screen. And what you will also notice while I'm talking is that the AI proctoring is showing red flags. So the red flag here is that speaking or lip movement observed. You are not allowed to speak. You are not allowed to move your lips during the exam. So I know a lot of people, when they read exam questions, like to read them out loud. Please do not move your lips. Read them in your head and then type your answer. Every time a red flag comes up, then Abdullah, as your proctor, will be forced to enlarge your screen and see what you're doing, and will maybe ask you, Abdullah, if you can maybe type in your chat box for me to say, Tom, please stop moving your lips. and that is the communication that is going to occur between every exam candidate and the proctor. The proctor, once you've started your exam, won't be talking to you verbally, because obviously that would disturb all the other exam candidates. They can only type to you, and you should only type back to them. So I'll say to Abdullah, apologies, sir. I will stop. Okay. Now, one of the main credentials in terms of ensuring a fair exam that is not cheated by candidates is that you cannot navigate away from this screen. So I'm just going to show you what happens if a candidate navigates away from the exam screen. So I'm going to go, for example, to check my emails. And in fact, I will go and check my presentation. And I see, oh, okay, there I can find an answer to an exam question. As soon as I go back, it throws a warning. You're not allowed to navigate away from the exam screen. 2 more attempts will lead to disqualification from the exam. So we're quite lenient. We allow mistakes for candidates navigating away from the screen by mistake. So if you did it for the first time and it disqualified you for the first, exactly on the first attempt, it might just have been a mistake. So you're allowed to make 1 or 2 mistakes. The third time you navigate away from the exam screen, your exam will be terminated and you will be disqualified from the exam, and we will not mark your exam. We will not even bother to look at it. So please do not navigate away from the exam screen. We will, remember, see everything that you do, because as your proctor, we have visibility of what you are typing, but we also have visibility of everything else that's on your screen. And everybody's exam is recorded in terms of the video of the person, as well as the video recording of your screen. So do not attempt any foul play. You will be caught out and you will be disqualified from the exam. So you will have seen that the chat box is still open. I can close it. And behind the chat box, you'll see that it's given a green mark for the question that I've answered. And as soon as I answer question 2, oh, no, go back. So instead of submitting the question, I clicked on submit exam. So I don't want to do that because I've only answered 2 questions. There's 25 not answered. I'm going to go back. So it does allow us to correct our error. There I made an error that is quite common to make. So don't click on submit exam when you're submitting an answer. Click on next. And whenever you click on next, then it will show that you've answered in green the questions that you've answered, and in yellow are the questions that you haven't yet answered. If you get to a question and you're not sure and you want to come back to it, you can simply click on mark for review. Okay, so then it shows that you have been through this question, but it's not highlighted in green. It's highlighted in a circle in blue, and that is marked for review. Okay, I'm still going to go to the next one, but you can see it's not green, it's blue, and it's a circle instead of that shape for questions 1 and 2. Please note that You will get questions asked in a different order to another candidate. So you should be alone in your room, but even if you were with another candidate in the room, you cannot obviously discuss what is question 2? What do you think about question 2? You will see a different question to the next candidate because the questions are sent to candidates in different order. If, of course, say, for example, question 5 has got subsection question 5.1, question 5.2, question 5.3, those 3 subsection questions will appear on the same screen. You won't have subsection questions appearing on different screens. So I'm just going to go through the exam, basically submitting random answers just for the purposes of this demonstration. And what I will also show you is if the screen sees a phone, you see the red, a book or phone is detected. Okay, that is a serious red flag for this exam. And the book or phone is observed. And the proctor does have the power to immediately kick you out of the exam room. And before they do that, they will probably tell you that we've detected a phone. It is not allowed. You are being removed from the exam and your script will not be marked. We have 0 tolerance for cheating in this exam. So please observe all rules for the exam. You are allowed a bio break. It is not a button that is on the demo, but in the live exam, you will see it at the bottom here between mark for review and between the previous, or I think it could be between the submit exam and the next button. It's bio break. So that means you can go to the toilet and you don't need to type into the chat box to ask the proctor if you can go to the toilet. You can just click on bio break and you're allowed a maximum of 2 bio breaks and a maximum of 3 minutes each. So when you click on bio break, it starts the countdown for that 3 minutes. And when you come back, you need to click done with bio break, and then you can continue. The whole time you will see at the top of the screen, there is a clock counting down. So you guys for level 2 will have 2 hours for the exam. So it will be counting down from 2 hours, and it will only, it'll only start counting down from the moment you are in the exam. So if you struggle to log in and you only log in at 9:15, don't worry, you won't have 1 hour 45 minutes. You will still have 2 hours. The clock will still count down from 2 hours. Okay, so let's move on and submit all the answers for this exam. And I will be taking questions on this exam as soon as I'm done with the demo. Make sure you keep your eyes directed at the screen the whole time. Why? Because if you turn your head, you could be looking at material that can help you. If I turn my head now, I think it will tell me, I'm going to stop talking and you'll see the flag, what it says. Candidate is looking away from the screen. Okay, so that is another red flag that we look out for, because if you're looking away from the screen, you could be looking at material that helps you to pass the exam, which is not allowed. Please let's adhere to the exam rules. Okay. Right, so I'm just going to quickly go through everything. You can see this question, for example, it has 3 sub-questions, so all of them are on the same page. And even though the subsections are 19.1, 19.2, and 19.3, it says it's question number 9. So just type in 19.1, explain, okay, X, Y, Z, as per what the subsection is asking, okay, 19.2 A, B, C is the answer. 19.3 1, 2, 3 is the answer. Okay, so whatever subsection questions are written, the numbers are written, then you need to write in before you answer each subsection question there. Right, so I'm quickly going to go through all of these just to show you what the submission looks like. And then we can go through to the chat box. If you don't submit anything, you can see that it says 12 hasn't been answered. So 13 has been answered, but 12 hasn't been answered. And of course, you can go back to previous questions. So let's answer question 12, and now it's going to be marked green. Okay. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward, very user-friendly. If your internet connection is good enough, then it will be fast to navigate from one question to the next. And you shouldn't have any technical difficulties as long as you do the systems requirement check well in advance, then you know on the day you'll be fine. Okay, so I'm quickly just going to finish all the questions, and then it's going to tell me that when I want to submit, I still have one question left for review. So it's up to me if I go back to that question or if I ignore that question for review. Of course, it's in your best interest to answer all the questions to the best of your ability. And 2 hours is more than enough time to complete the exam. If you do have some technical difficulties, we can give you extra time, but we would rather we stick to the 2 hours given by the exam. So now when I get to 27 questions answered, I click on submit, but then it tells me, hang on, you marked one for review. So let me go back and click on the question that I marked for review. And I'll say, I'm happy now with this answer. So now I can still go through all of the other questions. And I'm going to select on mark for review so that I know it's now being reviewed. All my questions are now highlighted in green. Now I can submit. And once you submit, there's no turning back. The exam has been submitted successfully. Please wait while the recording is being saved. If this process exceeds 5 minutes, feel free to close the exam window. You don't need to worry from there on. You should at some point see, thank you, your exam has been submitted. You may now close this window. That, ladies and gentlemen, is as simple as the process is to log in, do the minimum systems requirement check, do the identification, authentication, get authenticated by the proctor, type your exam answers, submit the exam. I am now going to stop sharing, and I'm now going to go into the chat box to go through all the questions that have been asked throughout the evening. And I'm sure I have answered a lot of them while demonstrating the exam, but we will still go through every single question. First question is a law question. Mohammed Shakur from New York asks Abdullah, after the toss, can a player still be replaced if agreed to by the opposing captain? Or can that permission be given by anyone else? And Mohammed, we will unmute microphones and allow you to ask questions. I see you've got your hand raised once we've gone through all the questions in the chat box. Abdullah, after the toss, can a player be changed by the opposing captain only?
Yes, Tom, law is quite clear. We need consent of the opposing captain. It's either yes or no. If it's yes, then we can allow that player to be replaced. If the answer is no, i.e. no consent given by the opposing captain, then unfortunately that player cannot be replaced. Over.
Thanks, Tula. Shiva asks, regarding the questions for the exam, should we prepare from the information provided in the slides that you have shared, or should we pay more attention to these slides, but also prepare from the whole of the laws? So Shiva, we have only covered the parts of the laws that are examined in Cricket South Africa's Level 2 exam. And if you know this presentation inside out, then you will be able to pass the exam. So no need for you to go and read up on other laws, except if you want more understanding of all the laws. In level 1, yes, we did cover laws 1 to 40, but for purposes of level 2, we have only covered those laws and those parts of those laws that are examined in Cricket South Africa's level 2 exam. So entirely up to you. If you want to go and study the entire law book, you're welcome to do so. But if you study the 69 slide presentation that Abdullah has gone through with us again today, and I've sent it to all of you on the emails, it is available for download from my Google Drive. You should be able to pass the exam. A lot of people have asked for revision questions for the exam. We cannot send you revision questions for the exam because we cannot send you any questions that would be similar or exactly as per the questions asked in the level 2 exam. So the best we can do for you is send you the presentation, and if you know that presentation inside out, then you will be able to pass the exam. The exam questions are between 1 mark and 6 marks, I think, is the question with the most number of marks allocated to it. So please don't give a 1-word answer for a 6-mark question. You need to write out, as Abdullah has explained, the law and your understanding of the law. You don't need to write the law number, and you don't need to write the law as it is written in the law book word for word. You just need to write your understanding, and then in questions where there are scenarios, you need to apply your understanding of the law to give a out or not out decision. Another question for you, Abdullah. Zahid Abbas asks, in club cricket, there is a call to prayer where we have a break in play. This is due to grounds which are close to mosques. So in the Muslim faith, there is a break in play if we hear the adhan. Does this call of prayer and stoppage of the game count as a break in play? And will appeals after this break in play be valid or not? You mentioned to us that if an umpire calls time, then the window period for an appeal closes. What about this particular scenario where we stop play and we sit down on the ground while the call of prayer is heard? Abdullah?
Zaid, this is a special bylaw that for club cricket in Cape Town, where the bylaw allows when there is a field close to a mosque and out of the respect for the call to pray, for the game to be stopped for, and usually the call to pray lasts for about 3 to 4 minutes. So the bylaw allows for the game to be stopped. So as soon as that call to pray starts, umpires usually, even if it happens mid-over, umpires usually would call dead ball, inform the players that the call to pray is busy, and everyone, just out of respect for the call to pray in the Muslim faith, will then sit down. So as soon as everyone sits down, the umpire technically needs to call and signal dead ball just to make sure that nothing happens while that call to pray is ongoing. And then obviously no appeals will be entertained as soon as the umpire call and signal dead ball. So usually what will happen practically is, let's say it happens mid-over. The bowler's just about just completed the third ball of the over. The call to prayer now starts. Umpire will then call and signal dead ball, informing all the players that because of the call to prayer, we will have a 2 to 3 minute break where everyone just sits down. Umpire will collect the match ball. So because of the call of dead ball, nothing that can happen while that call to prayer is ongoing. And it's not a scheduled break, but it is a break in play, and that 2-3 minutes break in play will get taken into account when calculating the over rate of the fielding side. Over, Tom.
Thanks, Tula. I was just busy checking the rest of the questions in the chat box. Did you mention if you call time when there is a call of prayer? Because that would then invalidate any appeal afterwards.
Yes, I did mention good practice is to call time as soon as the that first word of the call of prayer is uttered. Just call and signal dead ball and collect the ball. And then as soon as you made that call, anything that happens after that is obviously irrelevant. Over, Tom.
Perfect. Thanks, Tula. Scrolling in the chat box, Shiva asks, when is the latest that we need to let you know when we want to take the exam? And can we change our minds? What is the latest day that we can change our minds? So Wednesday, the 30th of April, 6 p.m. South African time, Shiva, you need to have paid for your exam. You need to tell me which date you are writing. Are you writing on Saturday, the 3rd of May, or Monday, the 5th of May? And you can change your mind up until Wednesday, the 30th of April at 6 p.m. South African time. So Abdul is wondering why we sorry, he says, referring to the exam, suppose you failed the first exam and are eligible for a rewrite, which you pass. However, what if the third level has already started by the time you pass level 2? When can you join level 3? So Abdul, as mentioned, you only have one attempt at level 2 now in May, and your results will come out on the 19th of May. So level 3 will start on the 23rd of June. So if you've passed, great, you can join us for level 3 starting on the 23rd of June. If you achieved between 65 and 79% for level 2, then unfortunately you haven't achieved a pass. You will need to rewrite, and you'll be allowed a free rewrite when next we have level 2 exams, which will be after another level 2 course. The next level 2 course will only take place in October and November 2025. So when next level 2 exams are written, you will be able to write level 2 then. And we will have another level 3 exam in December 2025 or January 2026. Then you will be able to join for level 3. So obviously you cannot join level 3 if you haven't passed level 2. So all the best for all of you passing level 2. So Abdul's just wondering why we aren't covering all the laws. And Abdul, it's purely for a time-saving mechanism. Those of us who were on level 1, you would have noticed that we presented the first 40 laws in level 1. So there you've got a full picture and a full understanding of all the laws. Even though you're not examined on all the laws in level 1, we cover 40 out of the 42. Level 2 and level 3, we currently only cover those laws that are examined in those exams. So if you weren't with us for level 1 and you would like the level 1 presentation, email training@wpcua.co.za and I will send you a link to download the level 1 presentation from my Google Drive. Mazizi Gampu says, Tom said I'm writing on the 2nd of May. Mazizi, if that is an umpire from Gauteng Cricket Umpires Association, then they need to fall in line with when you guys as Central Gauteng Lions Cricket Umpires Association are next writing level 2. Obviously, your umpires cannot dictate to you when you are hosting level 2. Up to you to communicate to them when they can write at Newlands. And that, at the Wanderers in Johannesburg. And that applies to all umpires associations all around the country. Zahid asks, what stationery is required for those writing at Newlands? Zahid, just a pen and a ruler. No calculator required for level 2, and you don't need to bring any paper. You will be provided with the question paper and an answer sheet. So please just bring 2 pens just in case the first one runs out, black or blue, and a ruler to after each law if you so wish, or after each question if you so wish, you can draw a line under your answer. Right, moving along. Vitesh asks, is it possible for you to email this presentation to me for exam preparation? Vitesh, all the emails that I've been sending throughout the past 3 weeks, they have a link to download the level 2 presentation from my Google Drive. If you have not been receiving any emails from me, then you can put your email address in the chat box and I will add you to the mailing list. On that mailing list, what I'm going to do starting from tomorrow is I'm going to send a list of all the email addresses that have been paid for the exam. I will also mention which day you have chosen for the exam and which platform you will be using for the exam. Most of you will be writing online, but of course there are some Cape Townians who will be writing at Newlands with us. If I don't have your chosen date and I don't have your platform, then I will write or highlight that cell in yellow, and then you will know that you need to still inform us which day you're writing, or are you writing online, or are you writing at the Newlands Cricket Ground. Bradley asks, no eating and drinking permitted during the exam. What if you need to go to the restroom? This is for the physical exam that you'll be writing at Newlands, Bradley. No eating and drinking, correct. We don't mind if you have water in a water bottle, but no eating, definitely. If you need to go to the toilet, you ask for permission physically, verbally. That is if you're writing at Newlands, and you will be allowed to go to the toilet. You just can't stay there forever. If you are writing online, there's the bio break button that you can click, and it will give you a maximum of 3 minutes. If you take longer than 3 minutes, then we might consider disqualifying you from the exam. So please be very quick if you need to go to the bathroom. Shiva says, I have a monitor and the laptop is to the side. The camera is on the laptop. Will be looking at my side, which means I'm looking away from the camera. Is that going to be okay if I'm not using any unfair means and only looking at my monitor for typing the answers? Shiva, no, you are only allowed to use one device. So only use a laptop. You will not be allowed to use a second monitor for the exam. That just opens up opportunities for you to view extra material on the secondary screen. So please, you can use a iPad or a tablet. You can use a phone for the exam. You can use your laptop. You can use a desktop, but you're only allowed to use one device and one screen. Please, let's not try and complicate matters. A laptop, as I was using for the demonstration, is big enough screen for you to see everything that you need to see for the exam. Aravinda asks, if someone does not have access to a computer, is there any possibility of doing the exam using a smartphone? Yes, Aravinda, you can use a smartphone. Please install Google Chrome on your smartphone and use your Google Chrome browser on your smartphone for the exam. Liabona asks, the candidates who are based in South Africa who need to write the exam at their association, how would that work? Are they going to offer a computer to complete the exam? And do we do the registration there, or should we bring our own to the venue? Liabona, all the umpires who are members of umpires associations in South Africa need to write the exam physically with pen and paper at their home associations. The online exam is only an option for private individuals who are not members of umpires associations in South Africa. So if you are going to write at Newlands, or if you're going to write at the Wanderers, or if you're going to write at Kingsmead, or any other home association stadium in South Africa, you will be writing with pen and paper. Hope that makes sense. Abby hopes that this episode or lecture has been recorded. Abby, yes, always being recorded. The lecture recording will be posted onto our YouTube channel tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. South African time. Adebi asks if an Android phone can be used for the exam. Yes, Android phones can be used for the exam. Please remember to download Google Chrome on your smartphone and use Google Chrome for the exam. Everton asks, when can we give a warning of a no ball over the waist? Is it every time or when it is dangerous, and how can you identify a dangerous delivery? Abdullah, law question for you. When should we give a warning for a no ball above waist height? Everton would like to know.
So Everton, as per the law, every time the ball is above waist height, striker standing upright at the popping crease, you need to call and signal no ball. The strikers in umpire is in the best position to make the call. Nothing stopping the bowlers in umpire, but strikers in umpire is usually because he or she has a side-on view. So every time ball is above waist height, you need to call and signal no ball. When it comes to warning the bowler or not, the criteria that you need to take into account is, was the ball directed at the striker? Was it the conditions that you need to take into account? Would it have inflict injury onto the striker? And usually what we do is, if the ball was directed at the striker, we will then give, if it happens the first time, first and final. If it happens again in that same innings, we will then remove the bowler from the attack. So if it's the ball at the striker, you'll give a first and final for dangerous bowling because the ball would have inflicted injury on the striker. If the ball is away from the striker, so ball is above waist height, yes, you'll call and signal no ball. But the ball is not directed at the striker, the ball is away from the striker. Now you need to, yes, you call and signal no ball, but you will not give the bowler a warning because ball was not directed at the striker, it was away from the striker. You only give warning if it was directed at the striker, and the reason is it was going to inflict injury on the striker. That's why you're giving a warning. If it's not directed at the striker, if it's away from the striker, you only call and signal no ball and don't give any warning. If directed at the striker, you call and signal no ball and give a warning if it's a first time. And if it happens a second time in that same innings, you'll call and signal no ball and then you remove the bowler from the attack. Over, Tom.
Thanks, Dula. Umesh Karam asks, is spell check enabled in the exam website? Umesh, I do believe from previous demonstrations that there is a spell check. So if you spell a word incorrectly, it will be underlined in red, and that will be your cue or your flag to know that you've misspelled a word. So please just do double check your spelling if a word is underlined in red. Abby asks, when will you send the exam answer sheet for printing? So Abby, you wrote level 2 with us last year when we had a different process. As described in the demonstration, the new process is a online typed exam. There's no paper involved. There's no pen involved in the online exam. You will be typing your answers on your device, whether it's a laptop, a desktop, a tablet, or a mobile phone. So Abby, if you haven't watched the demonstration, if you joined a bit late, please make sure you watch the recording of this lecture tomorrow before your exam, so you know exactly how to answer questions on the website. Mohammed Shakur says, I did not get a screen when you presented the exam demonstration. So please, can you send me the presentation? Mohammed, if it's the presentation you're looking for, it's on the email that we send every lecture reminder. If it is the exam demonstration that you want, it will be on the recording of this lecture, the link of which I will send to everyone on email and in our WhatsApp group tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. South African time. Gabet says that the head of the association here said I should apply to Free State Cricket Umpires Association and send a CV to get an approval from the committee for me to write the level 2 exam. Gabet, the reality is every Umpires Association in South Africa has different rules as to who they are allowed to write level 2 and level 3. Some association requires level 1 umpire to have, say, 5 matches on field before they're allowed to write level 2, and then maybe they require another 10 matches on field before they write level 3. So that is why we cannot allow umpires who belong to other umpires associations to write online with Western Province Cricket Umpires Association. You are welcome to join our lectures, but when it comes to writing the exams, you need to communicate with your head of training or your training coordinator or your executive committee to find out if you can write level 2 and where and when you will write level 2 with your Umpires Association. I hope that answers your question. Avuile says, do we also pay even if we will be writing at our associations, or we just have to check for that with our trainers? So Avuile, if you are not writing with Western Province Cricket Umpires Association online, then you do not need to pay the exam fee to us. If your association in South Africa wants you to pay an exam fee when you're writing with them, that is up to them to communicate that to you. So if you are writing with your home association outside of Cape Town, then they will tell you if you need to pay an exam fee. You do not have to pay an exam fee to Western Province Cricket Umpires Association if you are writing your exam at your home association. Tsepo Modisani asks, how do we go about the exam if your association has already done level 2 and the exam has been written and you could not attend due to understandable reasons? Tsepo, it is up to you to communicate with your Umpires Association when they will next be having level 2 exams. Guys, please understand that if you are a member of any Umpires Association in the country except for WPCUA, you need to liaise with your head of training or your training coordinator as to when you can write. We do not have any say as to when other associations are going to host level 2 or level 3 exams. I don't think that is a complicated topic to understand. It's pretty simple. If you need to write if you're a member of an association in South Africa, you need to find out from your head of training or your training coordinator when they are hosting exams. End of story. Thank you. Next is from Season Mube. Is confirmation of dates via WhatsApp sufficient or strictly has to be via email? Ciso, I get over 100 WhatsApps from over 50 people a day. If I'm not at my computer when I receive a WhatsApp, I will forget. So it is best you email. And because on my emails, I go through them one by one and say, okay, Ciso has emailed me, told me that he's going to write his exam on Saturday, the 3rd of May, and I will note that on my spreadsheet. If you send it to me send it to me by WhatsApp, and I'm not in front of my computer, I will likely forget and I will miss you writing on whatever date you've mentioned. Right. Ebby says, if before you finish any answer of a number and the question disappeared, how do you recover back the question? Ebby, the question does not disappear from the screen. You need to click on next to go to the next question. And if you remember that for question 3, there's something that you forgot to write, you can go back by clicking on previous to a previous question. So you can always flip through the different questions up until you have submitted your online exam script. So don't worry if you don't know an answer to a question, you can skip it and then come back to it at the end. Umesh Kadam asks, how soon are results declared? Umesh, it is on the timetable that I shared with you earlier. Monday, the 19th of May, you will all get your results. So 2 weeks after Monday, the 5th of May, candidates, you will get your results. And then the following Monday, the 26th of May, for those of you who have passed, you will get your certificates, Cricket South Africa Level 2 umpiring certificates emailed to you. Suranga asks, this course's lectures provided invaluable knowledge. I'm grateful to Tom and Abdullah for their time and contributions. Thank you. Patrick Edidiong from Nigeria asks, how many questions are there to attempt? Patrick, in Cricket South Africa's Level 2 umpiring exam, there are 20 questions. Most, if not all of them, have 2 or 3 sub questions. So you will have question 1.1, question 1.2, you'll have question 2.1, 2.2. So in total, there are 20 main questions, but if you count the sub questions, there's probably about 45 sub questions. Okay. Thank you for those kind words, Suranga. So we've gone through all the questions and comments in the chat box. I am now going to go to the hands that have been patiently waiting in the meeting room. Mohammed Shakur, you've got your hand up. I'm going to activate everybody's cameras and microphones. Please stay on mute until you are acknowledged. I have now activated everybody's microphones and cameras. Doesn't look like they're active yet. Let me just try that again. Bear with me, please. Meeting options. And we go allow microphones and cameras for attendees and save. And now you should all be in a position to unmute your microphones when prompted to do so. Mohammed Shakur, your hand is up. Please unmute your microphone. The floor is yours.
Yeah, hello Tom. Am I audible?
Loud and clear, go ahead.
Okay. Two questions here quickly. When do I have to notify you when I'm going to take the exam? The 30th of this month?
Correct. 30th of
Okay.
April, 6 p.m. South African time.
What time that will be in New York? What time it will be in New York?
That'll be 12 midday in New York.
Okay, I have to remind. Coach, I would like to say thank you on myself, to you, and Coach Abdullah. Thank you very much for your presentation, for patiently with us, my fellow colleagues, and is knowledgeable, and is a lot of stuff informative to learn on this learning procedure. And once again, I'd like to tell you, thank you very much, Coach, to you and Coach Abdullah. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Mohammed. All the best for level 2. I'm sure you'll do well. Just study the presentation and you will be fine. There was a hand up from Vic. Vic, if you still have a question, please unmute your microphone. The floor is yours.
Hello guys, can you see me?
Loud and clear, Vic, go ahead.
Can you see me?
Yes, I can see you as well.
Okay, cool. Firstly, let me say thank you for the course between yourself and Abdullah, and then for making sure that this course runs smooth, and then we understand now. Then last year I didn't write because I was gonna write with inland, and then I got told that I should not do like I should write with like I should do the course with them, and then but it was late already, and then like now I've parted ways with me. They parted ways with me, and then I don't think there will be a problem writing with you guys, right?
Vic, it is a Cricket South Africa regulation that all umpires who belong to umpires associations in South Africa need to write level 2 exams and level 3 exams at their home association. So are you still a member of KZN Inland Cricket Umpires Association?
No.
No, you're not. Are you sure?
100%. So, and then will it be, because the thing is, I think two options. Will it be possible if ever I could write it online, or maybe I can liaise with Juma to write it at Kingsmead? Then maybe someone needs to be there for me next week, and then or maybe I can write it online. I don't know which one will it be best for you guys, or like which one can it be best for me?
Vic, if you're not a member of KZN Inland Umpires, if you're not a member of KZN Coastal Umpires, then you are allowed to write online with WPCUA. So then you can pay your exam fee of 350 rands, send the proof of payment to training@wpcua.co.za before the 30th of April at 6 p.m. South African time. And when you send the proof of payment, please mention which day you'll be writing. Saturday, the 3rd of May at 9 a.m. or Monday, the 5th of May at 6 p.m. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, perfect. No. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Lovely. Thanks, Vic. Good to see you. All the best. I'm sure you'll do well.
Cheers. Thanks.
All right. Next hand up is from Tanaka Alvis, Boland Cricket Umpires Association umpire. Tanaka, please unmute your microphone. The floor is yours.
Good evening, Mr. Mukorochi. Good evening, Mr. Steenkamp. My question is basically in connection with the exam, let's say the physical exam, what is the scope used in answering questions if you don't answer them perfectly like it is written in the presentation itself?
So Tanaka, as mentioned, the questions that are in the Cricket South Africa Level 2 exam are law-based questions. So we need to, as the markers of the exam, know that you have got the correct understanding of a law. So even if you don't write exactly what the law says, as long as your interpretation is similar to the law, then you will get the required mark. And then the second type of questions that are asked in the exam is applying the law to a scenario. Normally the scenarios are appeal based, so out or not out. And if you get the decision correct, you get a mark. And if you get the reasoning correct, you get another mark for your answer. So I hope that answers your question.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mkorosi. You answered perfectly. And then the next question is, in the event that some of the candidates go over the 2 hours or 3 hours with the level 3, do they get extra time, or is just the cutoff time 2 hours or 3 hours?
So for the online exam, Tanaka, if a candidate experiences technical difficulties, so they maybe have a slow internet connection and it kicks them out at some point, or we see that the candidate is slow in typing, because we can actually hear each candidate typing into the input box, then we will extend them time. In terms of those candidates who are writing physically at Newlands Cricket Ground or at Borland Park for Borland Umpires, it is up to the invigilator to allow more time if they feel the need. So that is by discretion of the invigilator of the exam. It's not a given that you will have more time than the exam allows. I can't tell you if your Borland head of training or training coordinator is going to allow your candidates to write for more than 2 hours.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mkorosi. Thank you.
Next hand up is Shiva. Shiva, please unmute your microphone. The floor is yours.
Hey, Tom. The question you might have mentioned partial answer. So I just wanted to understand if partial answers are also marked, or it has to be full answer. Even if the summary that you are providing is similar to the law, I understand that you will be marked, but let's say if there are 3 points and you've only answered 2, will you be credited for 2?
Yes, Shiva. We as markers will read everything that has been written. So even if you have a 1-word answer for a 6-mark question, and that 1 word, for example, is out, and part of the answer for that 6-mark question is that the striker is out, then we will give you a mark for a 1-word answer, but you will certainly not get 6 marks for a 1-word answer. I hope that answers your question. Right. Jeremy Frederick says, thanks, Tom and Abdullah. Great presentations and very insightful and enjoyed. Thank you very much to you, Jeremy, and everybody else that has contributed questions and comments to the course. I wish you all the best of luck for your exam. Remember the famous South African golf player, forget his name now, Gary Player. He says the more you practice, the luckier you get. And similarly, the more you study, the more likely you are to pass. So go through the presentation, go through all the lecture recordings, and if you are able to understand everything that we have presented to you over the last 6 lectures, you will be fine for the exam. Sharon says, thank you so much, Tom and Abdullah, for the sensitization, which am sure has not left us the same. Much appreciated. God bless you all. All the very best in your exams, my mates. Thank you, everybody, for all the kind words and the words of thanks. And I am left only to say once again, all the best to all of you for your exams. You now know when to pay, and also to mention your platform that you'll be writing, as well as the date on which you'll be writing. The exam is out of 100 marks. You only need 80 to pass. I'm sure you'll all do well. Thanks to Abdullah for helping me to present this course, and hope to see you all in level 3 starting in June the 23rd. Have a great evening further. We'll send the link to the recording tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. South African time. Thank you all, and
Okay,
good
thank
night.
you, thank you, thank you.